build a computer, first thing you need to do is pick your parts. So first, you need a case. This is pretty much what your computer goes into. Next, you need a processor. In this case, we're using an i5 1155 socket, i5 3470, a hard drive, optional video card, power supply, OS, DVD drive, RAM, and one of the most important parts, the motherboard. Thank you. This concludes the parts portion of the video. Okay, so there's some things that you will need to build your computer. A Phillips head screwdriver, a pair of scissors or a knife, wire cutters, and wire ties. So let's start by opening up your case box. In this build, we're going to be using a Thermaltake V3 Black Edition case. So, this case features a front panel with two USB 2.0 ports, a small side window, a fan at the back, there's no fan in the front of the case, and both side panels can be removed with a screwdriver. Hey, so we've taken the side panel off, and now we get to take a look inside of the case. The case comes with some screws that we put off to the side for now, and these are all the front panel connectors. It includes power LED, the power switch, the reset switch, USB, and front panel audio. This is the cable for the fan. This concludes this part of the video. In this build, the motherboard that we are using is the ASRock Z75 Pro 3, featuring 555 Fast, which claims to increase your LAN speed, USB speed, and overall system speed. So, when we open this thing up, so we've opened up the motherboard, and what comes inside is faceplate, CD with drivers, which you should download the latest drivers off their website, and two SATA cables, other than the motherboard itself. So, on the motherboard you can see PCI Express slots, front panel headers, the CPU plate, and the DIMM slots. So, when you take out your motherboard, you should always either place it on top of your box or onto the foam that it was packaged in. Never, I repeat, never put your board onto this stuff. This is anti-static bagged. It keeps the motherboard safe while it's inside it, but once you take it out, the top layer is extremely conductive. The next thing that we have to do is take out the CPU and put it into the motherboard. So, in this case, we're using an Intel CPU and using the integrated heatsink fan that comes with the processor. Heatsink fan that comes with Intel processors looks like this. And and they have the CPU nestled into the cardboard in a way that it won't get damaged. The next thing you have to do is seat the CPU. So you remove the latch and the metal grate will open. You pull this plastic piece off because whenever you need to ship, if you ever need to ship this motherboard back to the manufacturer, you need to ship it with this on. So, you will see that there's a little arrow on the motherboard itself. That arrow corresponds to an arrow on the processor. Once you have those two parts aligned, as well as the notches here and here, you can simply drop the processor into the motherboard. Then all you have to do is have the latch back and tighten it down. We're done seating the CPU. This is the Intel heatsink fan that comes with the processor. So you want to align the pins to the little holes on the motherboard and make sure that your power pins have enough room to get to where they need to go. There is thermal grease pre-included on the heatsink, so you will not need to put your own on. The processor, as you remember, is seated with zero pressure applied on our part. So let's put this heatsink on. First, you place it on top with the little pins going into the holes. Then, all you have to do, starting with opposite corners, is push until you hear the click. Pick it up, and turn it around to make sure that all 4 pins have engaged. Then you plug in your fan, and that's pretty much all you had to do with the CPU. Thank you. In this build, we're using Corsair XMS 3 RAM. It is clocked at 1600 megahertz. It's dual channel memory. We're using 2 4-gig sticks. So let's take it out of the box. So if you don't know what RAM looks like, how can you say you're in CTC? But that's besides the point. If you didn't know what it looks like, this is what it is. Next thing we need to do is to put it into the motherboard. So to put the RAM in, you need to first open up the slots, take the RAM, align the notch to where it is located on the board. They've made it so it's pretty much impossible to screw up putting in your RAM. You just apply pressure downward. Just let me get this onto a more stable surface. And just press. You might feel like you're about to break the board, but you're not going to. Don't be shy with the pressure or your RAM won't be in properly. Once you see that both sides have clicked in, you know that you've installed your RAM correctly. Next step is to apply your faceplate. What you have to do is align it with the holes and then just push. It should click in after a few seconds. So to install the optical drive, just push it in, at least for this case, since it has a toolless drive mounting mechanism. Just look for where it lines up, and then lock it in, and your drive's done. Next thing that we're going to do is put the motherboard into the case. Move any wires that are in the way out of the way. Pick up your motherboard. Just take a look at where the screws you're going to need are going to be. So now that we have a general idea of where they need to go, you open up your packet of screws and grab your standoffs. So now we're mounting the motherboard into the case. If you take a look, you can see how there are holes all aligned for the motherboard. So what you do is you take a screw, you put it into one of the holes, and you screw it in. In this build, we're using a 1 terabyte Western Digital Caviar Blue hard drive. If you're going to use a hard drive, always go with Western Digital. So, to install it, you simply unlock the toolless drive bay again, you pull it up, and you push it in. Then to mount it, you simply push this into place, and your hard drive is locked. That's good. Now, we're going to mount the power supply. So what you do, you simply put it in, slide it back, it comes with screws that you would screw in to their respective holes on the bottom. We're using an EVGA GeForce GT 620 in this computer. It has one VGA port, one HDMI port, and a DVI port. EVGA is by far the best video card manufacturer in the world. Got that? GTX 620 has a small fan on it, as well as PCIe 3.0. As I explained, has the VGA, HDMI, and DVI dual link port. It is a single slot card, which means it will fit in almost any computer. So to install the card, you simply put the card in, then push down. Slide the locking mechanism back over, and then take a screw and screw in the graphics card. Right now, we're going to connect the front panel connectors. So that's power LED. It's the power switch. It's the reset switch, which goes next to the power LED in this board, of course. It's different for every single board. It's hard drive LED. And final, last but not least, the power switch. Things might get a little bit hard without that. Done. Right now, we're plugging in SATA power and SATA data. This is SATA data. You plug it in to both the motherboard and to the hard drive and optical drive. This is called cable management. Trying to route your cables in a way that is most efficient and the cleanest looking. Next up, we'll be showing how to set up power. First, you plug in the main 24-pin SATA cable. Next, we're going to plug in 8-pin CPU power. It's quite simple. You find the power plug and you just push it in. Any cables that we do not need, we're stuffing underneath the hard drive so they'll be out of view and out of mind.
Go.
Plugging in power is quite easy. Line up the hole, plug it in. That's how plugs work. God bless America.
Hey baby, wake up from your sleep. We have arrived onto the future and the whole world is become electronic, supersonic, supersonic, electronic.